What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today's topic, it may be a little bit controversial, but it came from a conversation that I was actually having with my lady. She brought something up and it reminded me about something, and it's something that I think with the way our borders are right now, I just think it's important. I think people need to see this, and I think the people affected by it need to be more aware of what's really going on. So let me start this off with a story. So, excuse me. While I was in the county jail fighting my case, there was a paisa that got arrested. He got busted in Colorado, and he got extradited back to Santa Barbara, right? And he got busted. This was, I think he got picked up in 94, if I remember right. And it wasn't long before I was on my way to the state, right? And he got busted for a murder that happened in 1989. They picked him up in 94. Extradited him, like I said, brought him back to Santa Barbara County. And so, I don't know him. He's not housed where I'm housed. He's housed in the same area because back then, like I said in another video, the northwest section of the county jail was, if you were going to the state, if you had a hot one, if you were going to be in the northwest. You weren't going to be out there in the east, west, front central, back central, none of that. You had to be back there because it was cell living. It was different, okay? So he was housed in, I think, C module or D module. I know he wasn't in A or B. I transferred out from B module. But I hit Wasco. I hit my reception, right? And what do you know? I wind up selling up with that paisa. Like, I wish I could remember his name, man. I wind up selling up with that paisa. And we're chopping it up. I want to know what he's busted for. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I go, you're the one they just picked up in Colorado? He goes, yeah. I said, how the fuck are you already done with your case? He said, oh, I had a great lawyer. I said, you had a great lawyer? I go, how much time you doing? And he said, oh, I think he had like 20 to life, 17 to life, something like that. I said, you did your trial that fast in like 30 days and then came over here? He said, oh, no, I took a deal. I said, oh, no. I said, what do you mean you took a deal? He said, yeah. He said, my lawyer told me that he had a deal for me, that he had already talked to the DA, and that if I signed the deal right then, that I would get whatever he got, like 17 to life, some shit like that, right? And he goes, but that I will be able to go home in 7 years. I said, paisa, you fucked up. And I'm trying to explain it to him, and he's like, no, my lawyer was, he was a good man and this and that. He even speaks Spanish. And I was like, fuck. I said, explain your case to me. Now, you got to remember, this dude is not from the streets. He was a regular paisa, wasn't involved in no criminality, nothing. He was a hardworking man. He's an older dude. He was already in his 40s. So he tells me he has a friend, and his friend had a drinking problem, right? And every time his friend would get drunk, he would wind up beating up one of the other friends. So on this particular night, Benji, stop stealing the show, player. So on this particular night, they had a friend that was blind. Yes. The mean guy beat up the blind guy. He beats up the blind guy, right? So my Sally and his other friends are like, hey, man, you can't do that, this and that. He's blind. He can't even see. He didn't even do nothing wrong, this and that. So he beats my Sally up. And not only does he beat him up, but he breaks a bottle. I can't remember if it was on his face or on his head, but he gets cut. An ambulance is called. My Sally winds up going to the ER, and while they're working on him, you know the Judas are always in the ER waiting for shit like this, right? Again, he's a square. He doesn't know anything, man. So he tells the cop, look, my friend beat me up. Can you move him out of the house? And the cop was like, oh, yeah, we're going to charge him this. And he was like, no. I don't want him charged with anything. I just want you to remove him from my house. And they made a big old thing. Well, if you're not going to press charges, there's nothing we could do. And this and this. And he's like, I just want him out of the house. And they said, are you going to press charges? He says, I'm not pressing charges against anybody. Right? So they're like, well, that's your problem then. You deal with it. So he was like, fuck, okay. Again, this dude doesn't know nothing about nothing. Right? Gets out of the hospital and talks to his other two friends. And he's like, we got to scare him. We got to figure out a way to get him. The dude was sitting in the living room like it was his house, like he took over. Fuck what you're talking about. This is my pad. I beat you up in your own house. Fuck you, right? So my Sally has a 22 caliber rifle, right? And he tells him, hey, you got to go. And the vato looks at his gun and laughs at him and told him, you ain't going to do shit. I'm not going nowhere. So during this time, there's a little back and forth exchange. Someone out of, it was my Sally and his two friends, someone actually put the rifle to the dude's head and told him to leave. And he laughed. They pulled the trigger. Whoever it was pulled the trigger, right? One shot. The dude dies. All three of them immediately go on the run. Now, I don't know how long it was until the first one got busted. But understand this. The first paisa got busted. He gets a public defender, right? The public defender tells him, I got a deal for you. I already talked to the DA. If you take, I don't know what it was, but it was a life sentence. If you take this life sentence and you sign it right now, you'll go to prison within the next 30 days and you'll be out in 7 years. That paisa said, where do I sign? 7 years? Where do I sign? A couple years later, they catch another one of them. The lawyer tells him the same thing. Music to his ears. He trusts him. He signs for a life sentence. And as we know, 4 years go by. They catch my Sally. Tell him the same thing. Imagine this. All three of them come from Mexico with the belief that, what the hell is this? With the belief that they have fled a corrupt country and come to an honest and honorable country. And that if the person assigned to them to help them fight for their life tells them this is the best thing you can get, don't fight it. If you fight it, you could wind up never getting out. But if you sign right now, you're getting out in 7 years. So you have three paisas. Three paisas who do not know the language well, who have no understanding of the laws here, who rely on their court-appointed or public defender. Let's just say they relied on a public defender. Public pretenders, as we call them, they don't know that though. They relied on a justice system that they thought was honorable compared to where they came from. One person fired one bullet and three men took a deal as the shooter. The judge, the DA, in every instance knew 2 of these guys didn't do it. They were just there. Didn't assault the guy. Didn't batter the guy. Didn't do anything to him. But it sat right in their hearts to put 3 men in prison for the rest of their lives. That's the justice system, right? I believe in the justice system in certain ways in this country. It can make you better if you want to be better. But that's for people that actually committed crimes. People who are actually in the criminal world and have said, fuck society and their rules. I run my own, right? I follow my own. But you had 3 men who came from another country to have a better life. It was a situation that was just, a drunk beating up their friends. And it got out of hand. Obviously, it got ugly. Nobody has the right to take another person's life. We know this. And the justice system doesn't have the right to take 2 people's lives and their freedom. I remember talking to my cellie and I was like, homie, you have to figure out a way to file an appeal. I said, you took a deal. You're not going to be able to appeal this, but you have to file something that your lawyer misled you, that, something, somehow you got to go to the law library and file something. And he was like, no. I'm going home. I said, no, you're not. Like, I'm not trying to be fucked up. And then he told me, when I leave this prison, he said, and I don't use these terms, but I'm going to use it today. He said, when I go to the other prison, I want to run with the Sureños. I said, oh my God. I said, no, you don't. He said, yeah, I do. I said, why? He said, so I can learn English better. I said, dear Lord. I said, you know what you're going to learn how to do very well? You're going to learn how to make weapons, make knives, cut lockers, cut bunks, sell dope, stab people, kill people, hurt people. I said, that's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn that real good. And you're never going to go home. As it is, I don't think you're ever going to go home. Remember, this was a time when nobody was paroling. This was 1994. So, excuse me, guys. While we're still in Wasco, I had wound up moving in to another cell with my older homeboy, but we were in the same building. Back then, D1 was the Lifer building. That's where we were at. And so he went to see his counselor. And his counselor told him that he was going to board in 7 years, right? And he sees me on the yard. He said, I talked to my counselor. I said, yeah, what'd they tell you? I'm going home in 7 years. I said, is that what they told you? He said, yeah, they said I just got to go to the hearing. Anybody that had life in California knows 7 years after you hit the state, you go to what's called a doc hearing or documentary hearing. They had stopped them for a while. I think they brought them back. A documentary hearing is for lifers to get an assessment of where they're at and what they need. It is in no way a parole suitability hearing at all. There's going to be one commissioner there. That commissioner, when I went from the shoe. I went from the shoe and they were like, look, you need to get your shit together. You're assaulting people, you're stabbing people, this and that. You need to get, I had my GED already. But for those that don't have, what a documentary hearing is this. They go through your C-file. They say, okay, wait, does he have his GED? No? Okay, boom. He's going to need that. Does this case involve alcohol? Okay, he needs AA. He's not doing AA. It's all the things that you haven't done or you haven't finished. They're just going to tell you need to do these things. Didn't matter though. You weren't going to go home. Back then, you weren't going to go home. And in his situation, the laws that changed later that let thousands of us out didn't affect him because he was already, he was in his 40s. So he was at least late 30s, early 40s when he caught his murder. I don't know where he is now, but I'll tell you this. That's 3 dudes on the same case, all crimies. I would love to say that that's the only time that has happened. It's not. I remember being in, I want to say it was New Folsom. And there was a paisa there. And he was telling his Sally, which was a homie, The same thing my Sally told me. Yeah, I took a deal. My attorney told me it was the best deal. I took it. I'll be going home in 7 years. My Sally starts explaining to him the realities of his situation. And he said, no, I'm not gonna do the rest of my life in prison. And he said, yeah, you are. Nobody gets out. And he said, if they don't let me go in 7 years, he said, I'm gonna kill myself. And my Sally said, well, I don't know how long you've been down, but you're gonna move out of this cell. So the reason why I brought up the border, and I'm not trying to get political, but we have a lot of people coming over, and there's going to be a number of them that are going to wind up incarcerated. And it could be a situation like what happened to my Sally. He was not a gang member. He was not a drug dealer. He was not a criminal, a crook, anything. But he had a drunk maniac beating him up and all his friends, and they tried to rectify it. It got out of hand. Somebody died, and 2 innocent people went to prison for the rest of their lives. I wanted to put this video out because I want paisas. I get a lot of paisitas are watching my channel. I have a lot of people following me in Mexico, and I want to make sure you understand. And those of you that have family members in Mexico, if they come over, it doesn't matter if they're squares or not. Make sure they understand. When you come here, if you get caught up in anything, a life sentence is not a deal. Never trust your public defender. As soon as you get busted, try to talk to somebody and get some advice, people that have been around. But the system is not set up to be fair. These counties want convictions. A higher conviction rate means more money for them. In Santa Barbara, they have a saying over here. It's such a beautiful city, right? And there's a saying here, you come on vacation, you leave on probation. They just want the money. They'll cite you for something and tell you, hey, we can take you to the county jail for the weekend, or you can pay this fine. But you're still going to get a court hearing. You're still going to get put on probation. It's the way it is, man. It's the reality of it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot different from what I've been doing lately, and you guys have been, all over the prison ones, all the prison stories. But this one, after a conversation, like I said, I had with my lady, and she brought something up. I was like, you know what? She made me remember that Sally and that case and how unfair it was. Prisons are built for a reason. They're built to house those who break the law. Our justice system is supposed to correct the ills of our society. Those that choose to live outside of the rules of society, there's a place for you. But we can't have a system that's been for decades and decades and decades more concerned about their conviction rate than getting it right. You have dudes that trust the system, trust an attorney, trust a public defender, and then wind up committing suicide because the reality sets in. They took a deal. They believed somebody who did not have their best interests at heart, and they were going to die in there. And so they sped up the process by doing it to themselves. It's a shame. So that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Share this with somebody. This one really needs to be shared with people. The people that could be affected. And like I said, people could come over and a square. Anybody, I don't even care, not even just raza, period. Anybody, if you get caught up in something, defending yourself, defending your family, whatever it is, whatever your story is or would be or will be, if you get caught up in something, do not ever believe that taking a deal for a life sentence is a deal. You lose your ability to appeal once you sign a deal. They threaten you with a death penalty, fight it. Fight it. If you wind up with life, you can appeal it. You never know. But anyways, everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.